5% of the people of the world live in the United States, but we consume 40% of the resources. No matter what damage we do to the earth or to other people. A place in which you can't trust the police after the politicians. They only care for the dollar sign. Care that's how you living. Acting like they combat enemies, but they the true villains. These doctors with prescriptions, dollars, millions addicted. Is ignorance and disease that got millions infected, or is it done by the sign? Some type of evil intention to keep you standing in line. And every day to ask questions, a little more for your mind. And ain't no time to be guessing. We educate our young, cause every knowledge they oppress us since the beginning of time. Just to make you feel less, that's the way you stand up and rise against your oppressor. And welcome back to another great night here on Freedom Revolution Network. This is Clarity After Dark. I am your host, Scarlet Anonymous. I have my co-host, Red Gypsy, with me here tonight. It's going to be a great show. Thank you for joining us. Thank you for being here with us. We are going to have a great show tonight. We have a few different topics, and those topics are going to be a little different here or there. Did you say you were going to be doing moon news, right?
Yeah, because we already did it on Journey, so we can recap it tonight.
Absolutely. So we'll be talking about moon news. We've got the full snow moon coming up in just 3 days. So that is something that I think people should be aware of. We're going to talk about a lot of moon myths tonight. I think that's what I'm going to call it. I'm going to call it moon myths, to focus on a problem that we have found as of recently. Okay, so we have kind of
has also led, might I add, into another issue that I have found with the media outlets. Man, it's just trying to get information now in the ways that we used to is just freaking redonkulous. Like going from like NBC to ABC to the local news stations, they all have a different reporting story on the same story.
Right. It's like dribble now. It's like dribble. It's like the same. It's the same thing, right? But different, a little bit different wording, but it's all the same story now, no matter what outlet you get. Right. You know, so a little bit of media bias, I guess, or non-original journalism. Okay. It's not that hard, even as a journalist, to look at a story and give your own take on it, even as an opinion piece. So the fact that we keep seeing carbon copy journalism is a really bad sign, because we're not seeing too much originality out there, you know, and I think that that's important right now when we don't have a lot of originality. Go ahead, Red. What were you going to say?
I was going to say something.
Yeah, I thought that was your only thought about that. Oh, by the way, I'm currently having Up North CBD gummies.
Well, we are going to be talking about where is baby Andrew.
Right.
Okay. And investigating this baby Andrew thing, there are so many mixed up details depending on which news media you get the story from.
Right. And I think that, like I said, it's kind of just a lesson for everybody right now to just kind of understand what happens in journalism at this point, and just to understand that these stories don't always get reported like they should. Some of these stories, even locally, You know, everybody has a little bit different piece of the story, but journalism now almost seems like one person has a little bit more information and one person leaves out something and another person kind of lets a detail out. So you almost have to read like 5 articles to get the whole story.
Right.
It's one thing that I've found. I mean, I don't know if other people have noticed that, but it's just something that I have encountered. So,
yes, definitely. And I noticed it, like I said, when I was researching.
so let's start out and let's talk about this baby Andrew story since we're going to go in lead with it. I thought it was an important story when you brought it up to me earlier, and I was like, because you were like, have you heard of this? And I was like, no, I haven't heard of this. Because the last time I had heard that name personally was a case in South Dakota where they had left a young baby in the 80s out in the cold to die. And this baby's name was Baby Andrew. So that was like the only thing I had heard of because that was semi local to me with Jacob Wetterling happening here, you know, in Minnesota. A lot of people, you know, it's popular. It's something that everybody talked about at the dinner table. It's something everybody knew about as a kid. And so that's what I thought it was regarding. But I found out quickly that no, that's not what the case was. That this was something new. This is in the news right now, and it's something that I think everybody should be aware of. And especially if you're in the southeast United States right now.
Yes, absolutely. And I think somewhere baby Andrew is getting lost in between the cracks.
Yep.
His story.
Impeachment and the State of the Union, Nancy Pelosi ripping it up, or the coronavirus, or, you know, insert giant problem here.
Okay, Bonnie. See, this is the problem that we're talking about. Like you just said, you don't think you've even heard of it. So here are the facts that we can find about this case. Okay. First of all, let's start with baby Andrew. Baby Andrew was born on January 18th. Now, baby Andrew is missing right now, currently, as we speak. He is MIA. Okay. Baby Andrew, what we know is that the mother, the paternal grandmother, and the great grandmother were all found inside of the mother's home, dead by gunshot wound.
Yeah, he is just a new infant. He's 13 days old, according to the media.
Right. Right. Okay. Now, baby Andrew is seen on surveillance being taken out of the house by his father, who also has an AR-15 rifle. Now, the assumption.
Now, why do they have to add that? Does that really need to be added in the article? I mean,
well, at the time, yes, because they're saying
that's the AR-15 that did that. You know what I mean? Do they know if he has other guns? Like, I just find it interesting that that's
now. I will say this: facts that they didn't tell us. They did say that the 3 women are deceased.
Right.
They didn't tell us that they were shot. They didn't tell us what they were shot with, or how many times, or any of that nature.
See what I mean? You see how like just casually AR-15 is like the only thing
now
we're supposed to pay
right
to?
Right. Well, these are the 2 things that the father is seen carrying as he's leaving the house.
Okay. So that's where the tie-in is. Okay. Because I was going to say, like, why would you?
And the AR-15. Now, the AR-15.
Seen this? Did somebody see this? Was this?
They have it on the surveillance cameras.
Okay.
Now, again, remember, surveillance cameras, there's no sound.
Right. Was this like a Nest camera or what kind of surveillance? Because Nest got sound.
They didn't say what kind. I am assuming
them Ring cameras or Nest or any of that. Them have sound now. You can listen.
Right.
Like my mother-in-law says when her like Ring camera's on, she can hear like neighbors and kids talking down the street.
Right.
So just saying, like they picked up like crazy amount of sound and video, of which I feel is a little bit of privacy concern issues. And I think everybody should think about that too, because your voice is being picked up by these things and being recognized by picture, and people have them like
Right.
everywhere now. Like everyone has one now at their front door. Everyone.
This is in Florida. This is going on in Florida right now.
What
Bonnie.
city in Florida do you know? Does it say? I just Pasco County, but I don't know where.
It is Pasco County. I'm not exactly sure where.
Which any live PD fans out there? Pasco County, Florida live PD. Just saying.
Now, they are saying that the father killed mom, grandma, great grandma, and fled the scene with the baby. This is the assumption through the security cameras. Okay. Security footage, whatever. Okay.
Okay.
Now, later, we have now found they put out an APB for dad's van because he left in the big white van. Okay.
Of course.
They find the van.
I only smile because I have a white van, so I feel some type of way every time there's like a white van involved.
Right.
Because I'm like, I'm just a normal family in my white van. Like, not everybody is a criminal or rapist or free candy in their white vans. Just want everybody to know that.
So they find the van 300 miles away. Dad is dead. Now, depending on which news source you get this information from, some of the news sources say dad was found dead by suicide, single gunshot in the van. Then other news sources say dad was found in the surrounding area in the woods and was found upon a search done in the woods. And all they're saying is a single gunshot wound. They are not saying self-inflicted. Now, they all agree on all of the facts except this one thus far. Okay, different degrees of it, but it's basically all the same. Up until that point of whether he was in the van or out of the van, if it's suicide, if it's not suicide. Now, the next thing that they all agree on is no sign of baby Andrew. None. They have searched with ATVs, horses, by foot, bloodhound, canine units. No sign, no scent, nothing to even give an idea or representation that that baby was anywhere even in the area with dad. So now I'm going to need some questions answered. If dad killed 3 women to run away with his child, why would he then kill himself and the child is nowhere to be found? This does not make sense. No clothes, no baby things. Hey, Dwayne, I thought you were in the ER. What's going on? Yes, the plot thickens, Pam, because now dad's dead and there's still no baby Andrew. Okay. Now, like I said, if dad killed 3 women to run away with his child for whatever reason, it doesn't follow suit that he is now going to kill himself with no sign of this baby anywhere.
Right. Where's the baby? Okay. They're claiming that it occurred potentially in the woods by the Everglades. But okay, if I was the man and I just killed my whole family and I know I'm probably going to jail or I've lost it, my mind has snapped, whatever's going on at this time. Why wouldn't you, if you were committing suicide, then just kill the baby in you? if that's what this is.
Right. Right. And as far as leaving the baby with relatives, from what we know, this has not happened because the relatives that are still living are hashtag where's baby Andrew
Right.
just as much as the rest of us. Um, they're even more highly concerned now that dad has turned up dead. Now, we have the surveillance showing that dad was fleeing the home with the baby and the gun. What if dad didn't kill them? What if dad was running from somebody and trying to protect this baby? Nobody has given any thought to this. Nobody has said this. I'm just throwing a possible out there. We don't know. There's no sound. So, how do we know 100% that dad did this? We only know what we see. So, when we see three women dead, we see a man exit the home, we see him with a child, we see him get into a van, we see him leave. It seems pretty cut and dry. But what if there was something we weren't seeing
Right.
that was also going on? And it could be an array of different things that we have spoken about in past topics throughout the years here on Clarity After Dark. And I do mean an array of things from mind control to possession to actual government to
Clandestine groups. Cult.
clandestine, right, right, Illuminati, you name it. There's a list of people out there that would want to get their hands on a brand new infant.
Yeah. Even crazy people. We covered that God, what was that? I feel terrible for forgetting this woman's name, but we go through so much information. But the woman in Chicago whose child was cut out of her by the crazy woman who met her online in the Facebook group and then tried to pass the baby off as her own. And then remember they didn't catch her for like 2 weeks. And then the
Right
family finally got with the baby, and then the baby ended up passing away. But
now, Bonnie, that we know of, no drugs are involved. They have not been mentioned.
no, they have not. I haven't seen that either.
Now, as far as I can't have the baby, no one can. We don't know. As far as motive, Bonnie, we don't know. They haven't given us a motive. They haven't said that him and mom were fighting. They haven't said that they were separated. They haven't said that they were estranged. They have not said that they were anything. They just say that he killed them and ran off with the baby, and we were supposed to accept that. And we were looking for him, but now he's dead and there's still no baby. So this whole thing isn't jiving.
Right.
Now, Pam, baby broker and shot dad or drug dealers, highly possible. Now, they are saying that there is a witness somewhere between the house and where the van was found that says that there was a blonde woman in the van with him. Now, if he left the baby with said blonde woman, why has she not turned the baby in? Why has she not taken the baby? Why hasn't she made a phone call? Why hasn't she reached out? Where is she with this baby? Why did he give the baby to her?
Why would he give the baby to her?
Right. Why would he give the baby to
Yeah,
her?
now that could be, now there could be another woman who is involved who then, let's see if I can, my computer's being very touchy tonight. See if there could be another woman involved that, was like this woman in Chicago who really wanted a baby, couldn't have a baby. Well, here's a baby. We're in some type of weird relationship and now I want the baby. It's like, you don't know.
Yes, yes, Bonnie. It is hard to try to get help with the information that they have released. And I understand he's dead and there's no reason to not announce more information other than I really don't think they I don't
I don't
think
think
they
they
know.
know. Yeah, it's so strange because anybody who's close to the family is dead. Everybody in the home dead. Um, father, mother, grandmother, great grandmother dead. Everybody's dead and the baby is gone. Baby's only 13 days old, but where is the baby? Babies that small, we know, cannot survive on their own. So either one of two things have happened at this point. Somebody is taking care of the baby or the baby is dead. There's no in between at this point. The baby would be too fragile. Maybe a little bit older baby could last a few days, a couple days, but not a baby this small. Unfortunately, not a baby this small.
Now, like I said, and then they said something about a possible pickaxe missing from the van as well. But they haven't said anything again about the AR-15. I'm also going to point that out. They didn't say if that was in and not in the van, missing.
And I feel like that should have been said. Like, what was the weapon of choice? How did they die? If there's no other, they deserve to at least be remembered, not necessarily for how they died, but to get some sort of justice. I mean, what? The news just feeds us this story and then we get no details, and then what?
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, why not? Why even come with any details of the story besides details that then help you get the baby back? Otherwise, if you don't have enough information,
Now you can look him up yourselves, guys, and see what information you might be able to find out. The Amber Alert is under Andrew Caballero, Caballero.
Caballero.
Father's name was Ernesto Caballero. Mother was Arlette Garcia. Grandmother was Isabella Valdez. And great grandmother was Lena Gonzalez. If anybody knows anything, has seen anything, they are encouraged to call the Pastel police.
Anybody with a new baby, anybody with the new baby that doesn't fit, that this person wasn't pregnant, they didn't have a surrogate, they didn't adopt, like, whose baby is this? Definitely you might want to call on that because it's very interesting. Baby is missing. Now they're saying that they're doing the article I read earlier to Red said they're doing individual searches in the areas that they
with cadaver dogs.
Yeah, with cadaver dogs, where they believe the baby could be potentially buried, they said. But I don't know why they would think that unless they gave us some information like, hey, we have a suicide note, or we have some interesting notes on Facebook or social media that the dad wrote or something. Like, we have nothing. So
supposedly, Bonnie, they brought in really, really good scent search bloodhound dogs before they even let anybody on the site really with the van, and there is no scent of the baby.
Right.
They didn't even pick up the slightest scent of the baby. They didn't even pick up the baby's scent in the van.
Right. Which then makes me wonder.
The only evidence that they found was a pacifier in the van, and they used that to try to get more scent, and still they didn't find anything.
Right.
They haven't said that there was any blood or anything in the van.
Yeah, they haven't said there was a shovel or a pickaxe or anything in the van or anything that would lead them to believe what they're saying, which then makes me think, well, okay, we know that, little babies go missing a lot for very dark and nefarious reasons. So, you know, sometimes
Now,
it's too outrageous to be true.
you
What did
just
they
brought
do
up
for a
dark
living?
and
You
various reasons.
Yeah, I want to know what they did for a living, these people.
I do not know. They did not
Yeah,
tell
you know
us.
what I mean? Like, what did these people do? Were they drug dealers? Were they normal people? Were they, shady gang life? We don't know. Did they have,
Yes, Bonnie,
were they
very well could be.
millionaires?
But again, it brings a lot of questions into consideration about this blonde woman. What she, why she took the baby, why he would give the baby to her, where she is with the baby, why she hasn't come forward.
Right.
She didn't do anything. She has nothing to fear.
If she didn't do anything. That's it.
Right.
Because women get crazy. So what if it's more like a romantic thing? We're gonna raise our baby, and you're gonna run away from, life, and we're gonna have a
Right.
good life. I don't think they had any other kids. This was their first.
Nope. That we've heard so far, they haven't said that there's a history of violence with these people, other than the dad did have some old jail time.
Right. Which knows what that's for, because certain states will send you to jail for parking tickets. So hard to
Right.
say what that's all about, or if it's even, relevant. I've known a lot of good people who just went to jail. So I mean, things happen. Yeah, I mean, she may not come forward because she's an accessory to the crime, but if the police would know that detail, therefore they'd be looking for this person, obviously.
Right.
So, where was this blonde woman caught? Was she caught on camera? Do you know?
No, there is a physical human witness that says that they saw them somewhere between the house and where the van was seen, and she was in the van with him driving.
Okay. Okay.
Now, this could be a multitude of things. This could be
Could
a
they
hitchhiker he
be
picked up. This
mistaken?
could be an accomplice. This could
Right.
be a handler. This could be a hooker.
Yeah, you right, peanut gallery. I hear you over there whispering.
Okay, listen, no. I'm gonna give this one moment of humor. And I haven't even told you this yet, Scarlet. Peanut Gallery almost picked up a hooker.
Oh, peanut gallery, what are you doing? Get smart, bud.
Okay. Now listen. You know how he has that soft spot for hitchhikers.
Right. And hitchhiking is legal in the state of Colorado.
Right. And we get them all the time. And he's got this huge soft spot for them. He picks them up all the time.
I would too, though, because you know what? As a kid, I always wanted to like go hitchhike somewhere and like just go on the road and like have that idea in my head. So like I feel it. I'd want to help people too. Like I might not be able to take you far, but like I helped you on that.
Right. Exactly. And that's how he feels.
Right.
So, and oftentimes he'll even come home with like a hitchhiker and be like, so I thought I'd bring him home and feed him and then they're going to be on their way.
Right.
Okay. It's not uncommon. He's brought them home and even let them stay overnight for a night or two. It's not uncommon that he brings home these strays. Okay. But so he's on his way home yesterday. He sees a woman on the side of the road. He thinks she's hitchhiking because he thinks he sees her thumb out, right? Him being who he is, he
Right.
pulls over and she walks up to the truck and he's like, do you need a ride? And she says, I'm soliciting for charity.
Okay. The charity of myself.
Okay, she says, I'm soliciting for charity to pay my rent.
Okay.
He's like, okay, do you need a ride or not? And she's like, I'm soliciting. And he's like, okay, I thought you were hitchhiking. She says, I am, but I'm soliciting, so I wouldn't want you to stop unless you have $10 to $20 for me.
Oh,
And
okay.
he was like, do you want to ride or do you not want to ride?
I was like, you ungrateful bitch, I stopped for you. I got $1. I have $2 in my pocket. I was gonna give her $1. And I drove away and I was like, wait.
So then he comes home, Scarlet. Okay. He leaves. He comes home. He says, I don't get it. She wanted to ride, but she wanted me to pay her to give her the ride. I'm like, oh my God.
You don't get it.
She was soliciting, honey. She was a hooker.
Right.
He's like, oh my God, really? That was really what he's like. I mean, I thought maybe, but then I thought, no way. I'm like,
Fuck, I stopped.
Oh, poor Peanut Gallery.
only my husband stops and gets solicited by a hooker and still has to come home and confirm with his wife that he was actually solicited by a hooker.
I could see Mr. Tire, if you're watching, I could see that happening to him. They mean well. They're just trying to help. Strictly there to help. So they see nothing else. It's not what they're there for. Poor thing.
And Bonnie, to answer your question, it happened apparently during like early evening, I believe, and she could have been wearing a wig. They do have the witness working with police people to get a sketch, a composite sketch together of this mystery.
Oh, the blonde woman, mystery blonde. So we might find out more information on this. This might not die out. Because I'm just wondering how this case, to get back on, kind of wrap up Baby Andrew, how do you get any conclusion out of this? We could be sitting here, like I said, for the next 30 years and then find out, oh, somebody raised him or whatever. But, hopefully if there was this mystery blonde, there's a way that we can try and get a sketch. So then that way we could identify her and then potentially bring her into custody.
Correct.
Questions like, what happened? Like, who are you? Why were you there? Like, just anything.
Right. Now, that being stated, let's all keep baby Andrew in our prayers.
Right.
Let's keep the rest of baby Andrew's family in our prayers, because how hard is this for them right now? They're burying 4 family members.
True.
And searching for a newborn baby that most believe is dead.
Yeah, honestly, they said today they were talking about the search that was going to happen. And in that, they talked about how they believe that most likely they're not looking for, a live baby at this point. Why they had the cadaver dogs to begin with.
So let's take one single second here and say, Lord, if you're out there, and if it is in your want and desire and purpose, let us find baby Andrew. Let us find baby Andrew. Let us find him miraculously unharmed in some great and magnificent way that will again prove and entrust in you. Make him one of your mighty works, O Lord. Work your magic from him. And if he is gone, O Lord, let us find closure for his family. They need that.
Right. And we don't know what family is left, to be honest, either.
Right.
He took out 3 generations of a family, 4 generations of, like took out everybody. I mean, so I don't know how much other family there even could be. Maybe there isn't any family.
Well, we know there is because the reports say that they're speaking to family members.
Okay. But were they close? Do they live in Florida? You know,
We don't know. They haven't given out any details like that.
Yeah. So I mean, this is a really hard situation. I feel bad for that family and the child and the experience and what happened, because that's a very awful thing to go through, honestly.
Now, speaking from an uglier place, reasons that we can come up with are millions on why someone would want to take a baby.
Right.
Now, one of the reasons that has been coming out more and more lately, and people are very unfamiliar with it, is adrenochrome. Now, adrenochrome is a chemical compound. Its molecular formula is C9H9NO3. It is produced by oxidation adrenaline or oxidizing adrenaline. The imitation carbazochrome is a hemostatic medication, not at all related to chrome or chromium. Now, adrenochrome really is an adrenaline metabolite. They've done a few small studies to investigate it. They did them back in the 50s and 60s. This led us to the knowledge of it causing mental disorders, derealization, and euphoria. Now, the effects were actually discovered by administering overdoses of adrenaline preparations, as they called them, that contained adrenochrome and adrenaline. Abram Hoffer and Humphrey Osmond compared the effects to those of LSD and mescaline, or psychotomimetic, although now we all call it psychedelic. Also, according to Abram and Humphrey, those effects in the adrenochrome could last for weeks. Okay. Now, they're comparing the effects to LSD and mescaline. Now, we know that these effects wear off in hours, at most 24. Okay. They're saying this can last for weeks. These effects. Weeks. Now, they could also lead to flashbacks coupled with paranoid, depressive reactions. These two had a thesis on adrenochrome and mental disorders like schizophrenia and how it might play a part. The adrenochrome hypothesis was later changed to the aminochrome hypothesis. In the scientific field, the classification of adrenochrome as a psychedelic has never been established. Aldous Huxley's book, The Doors of Perception, allots for adrenochrome's popularity in name within popular culture. However, it was Hunter S. Thompson's book, Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas, that actually made it popular. Fun side note, it was only in the movie that adrenochrome is obtained from the adrenal glands of living human beings. Elizabeth Bathory could have been actually reacting to the adrenochrome from the blood she was originally bathing and then bathing in and then drinking. Yes, Bonnie, I believe it is adrenochrome that they use for that, actually. And they also do it so that they can potentially harvest the adrenochrome back from the said person. Because, see, in order to get that, you have to oxidize adrenaline. Well, how do you get adrenaline? You get adrenaline by sparking something within the body. Well, in order to do that, you usually have to terrify and torture. So there are rituals that they do that are terrorizing and torturous to get that height of adrenaline to its utmost peak and then remove it. Now, where was I? Oh, yes. Okay. Adrenaline is highly addictive. It is a chemical fact. If you drink the blood of young children, it is rejuvenating and anti-aging device. If you adrenalize the blood first, it's a doubly effective anti-aging effect. To adrenalize the blood, you terrorize the child, as well as their bone marrow. So they're not just harvesting the adrenal or gland or the adrenaline from the adrenal gland. They want the actual adrenaline already produced from the adrenal gland, and they want the bone marrow. Right. They're taking it from the actual blood itself and then the gland. CIA officer Robert D. Steele and Fiona Burnett, which is a survivor, says when they go to sacrifice a child, they adrenalize the blood by terrorizing the child. They are addicted to adrenaline. There is a science behind their madness. Kirk Barker, book writer, says there are professional harvesters that kidnap, terrorize, and collect adrenalized blood, then offer it up for sale. Adrenochrome is the purest form, the next big high for the blood drinking adrenaline junkie. Again, you're terrorizing the victim slowly over time, allowing the adrenaline to build up. Then the victim is killed. A needle to the adrenaline gland in the neck to extract the pure stuff. And boom, you now have adrenochrome. But the best they can hope to attain from even the greatest of specimens is 11 cc's. That's all a human body can produce or that can be harvested.
And this happens in a lot of different places.
Creepy is not the word. It is beyond creepy. This is actually happening. They are doing this.
Yep.
We have many reports actually of many Hollywood movie stars, singers, so forth, that actually are addicted to the adrenochrome. One of them actually is Celine Dion. They say that she was on adrenochrome, and when her husband died, her husband was her handler, and she has not had adrenochrome since, which is why she now looks like she does now versus what she did look like.
Right. That's what people say. They say a lot of different
Macaulay
celebrities
Culkin.
are involved.
Macaulay Culkin is another one that supposedly was on and is no longer allotted any. Oh gosh, I can't think of the guy's name, but he's about to release the thing on the pedophilia. He's been talking about it for years, and yes, Corey Feldman talks about the adrenochrome and the terrorizing and the murders and the sacrifices and the pedophilia. We have many, 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 many sources that speak about this. We have many places that tell you about it. Now, do they take it from living beings? We hadn't really heard that until they released it within the movie Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas. We mostly hear about them torturing to a certain point, like they're almost giving classes on exactly when the body has produced its limit, and right before it releases it, to kill them to prevent the release and extract it. Now, if I guess they're trying to milk the situation, live would be the smarter thing, because you could potentially just torture them repetitively and build up that adrenaline repetitive amounts of times, but not to the full extent. You would have to, I guess, harvest less in order to keep them alive, and you already get so little that I guess it's not worth it. And apparently they also want the bone marrow, so that could be another reason for the killing.
That's true. And you need it from somebody that's scared and afraid, and there's a lot of.
Here's the scariest part, Bonnie. You said, is it a part of the vampire cult culture? No.
Oh,
This is everyday movie stars,
celebrities.
book writers, celebrities, government officials,
Yeah.
Illuminati members,
Skull and bones types.
Skull and Bones type. This is not even being done behind like closed doors.
Say some groups of Satanists and occultists, and I mean this is popular.
Yes.
And it's happening all over the world.
Yeah, not just in this country, but all over the world this is happening. And how many people do we think? More than we care to even try to put a number on.
Yeah. Yeah, honestly.
Because I'm going to say it. Bill Gates says that we need to get rid of 1/3 of the world's population. Bill Gates would be another person that I would highly think knows about the adrenochrome market, and is probably highly involved with it. If he partakes in it or not, I'm unsure of that part, but I'm definitely sure that he probably definitely knows about it and has his hand in it somewhere and is getting his movie check for it.
Mm-hmm.
That being said, if he thinks that we need to destroy a third of the world's population, I'm going to say it's at least a third plus of the world's population addicted to adrenochrome and in this sick shit.
Yeah. I don't have to agree with that. From what we've done and what we've looked into, I would have to say, yeah.
And this ties in, guys, to all the other things, okay, such as Pizzagate, Pediogate, Epstein.
Yeah, you know what? I just shared a meme on at that Clarity Shows page on Twitter that was like coronavirus, and everybody forgot about Epstein. Epstein didn't kill himself.
Yes, Bonnie, they would try to create a synthetic version, but we know that there is no
It doesn't
synthetic
work.
version.
Yeah, there's no synthetic version of this, unfortunately. You know, epinephrine itself is made from adrenaline, and the only way you can get that is, you know, one way. So I'm not, you know, trying to be morbid. Insulin has to come from somewhere. Um, People don't realize how much of these products are processed from human beings. The medical device industry is mostly body parts. Most medical devices aren't plastics and, you know, nanotechnology. Honestly, most medical devices, if you look into the medical device industry, and especially if you look at the International Consortium of Investigative Journalists report on skin and bone, it's people parts.
Damn right it is.
So I think people just don't realize that that's what the medical device industry is about. But
I'm just going to throw this out here because Bonnie said Epstein didn't kill himself. And we were just doing all the Epstein didn't kill himself jokes. So Epstein facts to think about real quick. I'm just going to throw them out there. There is a man who says he is the man that strangled Epstein. His name is Nicholas Tartaglone, and he is in the same prison for multiple murders. And Shirley Skipper Scott is the associate warden of the prison. And you should just do a little research into her and her history with the Clintons and everyone else. And then the other name that comes forth with Epstein currently is Bargara, Bagara Sampson. Just do a little search. Check it out for yourselves. Just thought I'd throw those out there. Because, well, Epstein update. It doesn't matter because children are still hurting. Children are still suffering. Children are still being terrorized. Children are still being harvested for their adrenochrome. Children are still being sexually abused.
Truth.
Children are being molested. Children are being harmed, killed, maimed. And it needs to stop.
Yep.
And the survivors are, they're traumatized.
Absolutely.
They're absolutely traumatized. The ones that got away, the survivors that are left, they're traumatized. And you can find their stories.
You can. There's a lot of people who have spoken out about it. That's for sure.
You know, and it goes all the way up the chain, guys. Why do you think the prince just walked away?
Yeah.
He just walked away because there's a whole lot of accusations of him and young girls.
Right.
And he knows stuff's about to blow up because Epstein just went down.
Everybody knows things are about to get serious because Epstein just went down. There's a lot of people suspected of these activities in politics, in the public eye, who are just waiting for their day.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely.
And they know that because that's part of the agreement.
And for those that weren't listening when we were on our other platform, we covered Pizzagate so hard, guys, that we were being censored so bad, and we were covering it through the whole time. We were some of the first people to start calling it Pizzagate.
Yeah, that was the first. And then when they tried to pull the whole Comet Pickpocket Pizza, you can't talk about it. Then we started calling it Pedogate.
Yep, we started calling it Pedogate then. We were covering it through all of that time framing. We were on top of it. And Epstein was a part of it then when we were researching. A big part. And then all of a sudden Epstein got busted. So I'm just saying, you know, all of the things, Pizzagate, Pedogate, whatever you want to call them, they were the quote unquote conspiracy theories, ping pong pizza, all of that. Epstein was the proof, y'all.
He was the proof.
Epstein was the proof.
Yes, he was, because we talked about the Lolita Express before anybody talked about the Lolita Express.
Yes, we did.
Yes, we did. And so we were waiting for that shoe to drop eventually because we knew that he was connected to some of the highest pedophiles that ever existed in our country and the biggest mover and shakers, you know, the biggest politicians. Everybody was there. Stephen Hawking was there. Bill Gates was there. All the celebrities, Lady Gaga, everybody was there on his little pedo island and rode the Lolita Express.
Yes, yes.
So, I mean, it's, you know, it's hard for people to swallow that. I get that. It's a real thing. You know, I can understand why some of these topics or, you know, things could be concerning, right? But, and they might be hard to hear and they might not be nice to talk about at all. And we don't like necessarily talking about it, but it needs to be uncovered. You know, there are
so
people
funny,
out there.
Pam.
What, Red? I didn't hear you there.
I was asking, Pam said that's so funny. I wasn't sure. Maybe I missed something.
Okay, maybe we did miss something. I wasn't looking at the chat, to be fair. I was pulling up articles because I was going to start talking about coronavirus.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. And we do have Dwayne with us. Say hello, Dwayne.
Oh.
Hello.
Hi, Dwayne. Are you recovering from your meeting? Okay.
I'm still on my way to the hospital. I had to do a couple of things real quick before I head that way. But we were in the process of moving. But no. You know, it's funny how you were talking the whole Epstein thing. Because all three of us in the car were just talking about it.
Were you? Oh, funny. Mm.
We were literally just talking how this motherfucker did not kill himself.
Right. Epstein didn't kill him.
There's no way. There's no way in hell. You know, and the fact of the matter is that, you know, from what I've heard about the whole Epstein situation, because I followed it real heavily with USCF when the whole thing happened, you know, is that he was in a secure facility.
Right.
You know, with guards 24/7. So how did he even get the time if he's in a maximum facility to get the time to hang himself?
Oh.
And where did he get the material to do it?
Oh, okay. Sorry, Dwayne. Hold on just a moment. Okay, Pam and Bonnie. No, it had nothing to do with a city calling themselves the pizza capital of the world. It had to do with there is a particular pizza place in Washington that was Ping Pong Pizza that we
Comet
believe.
Ping Pong Pizza.
What was that? Oh, yes, Comets.
Comet Ping Pong Pizza, owned by James Alefantis.
Yes. And you can look him up and see how eccentric he is.
Yeah, and how that went down, and what type of art was in his store, what type of video were purported he recorded there, and some of the activities that may have or may not have occurred.
Bonnie. Yes,
You know,
some
and
of
the one thing. Go ahead, Rick.
activities, some of his activities, and we believe that that was one of the bases. Scarlet and I believe that that was one of the that is still one of the head bases for child sex trafficking. And we got shut down about this and told that we were no longer allowed to say that. So it got changed to Pizzagate.
Pizzagate. You couldn't call it Pizzagate no more because he went to court and tried to cry.
Right.
I'm innocent. Don't say anything about my.
Right. Well, first they told us we weren't allowed to use his pizza shop's name.
Yeah.
Then it was that we weren't allowed to use Pizzagate, so then it became Pediogate.
Right. Because regardless, pedophiles are still everywhere. And we started recording pedophiles, you know, one story after the other. You know, there's a story at least weekly that gets to the national level of news every week, at least one, not more.
Right.
If you look,
and I've even seen that
cases, they would be large, you know, like where you're from, Dwayne, largest child sex trafficking capital of the world.
Right. In Ohio, one of the biggest cities, you know, that is the most popular for not even just child sex trafficking, but sex trafficking in general, is the Belton Village area. Because mind you, we have a big ass mall that has a Dave and Buster's in it. So there's people all day in and out of this building that has like 40, 50 stores on the inside of it. And 90% of the population that goes into the Belton Village Mall are females and kids.
Right.
You know, when I've shared it to my Facebook before, it's down in there, but I'll dig it out one day and I'll post it in the Discord. But you know, it's the red dots all over the Belton Village area are just, it seems Ohio has become the capital for sex trafficking.
Well, yeah, and there was at least an article about the children portion of it being one of the largest. So I wouldn't doubt that in general, you know, as a whole. You would say.
Right, and now once a week we're seeing kids are coming up missing.
Yep.
You know, I think for the past 4 weeks, I have shared a missing kids or missing person from either one of the counties, one of the cities in Stark County or in Ohio in general, missing. We just had a girl found, I think about a week ago, dead about a mile away from her home.
Right.
You know, we had an autistic.
Also, too, Red, let's talk about the child in Colorado that's still missing, because I know they haven't found him.
I was about to say, is there any updates on that child?
Yeah. Red, where you at? Where with the update?
There aren't any.
Well, if people aren't familiarized, let's talk about it real quick.
Which one?
The one in Colorado that's missing, the little 13-year-old boy,
Wait, is there more than one
Or
kid in
11.
Colorado missing?
the 11-year-old or whatever.
There
think-
are. Yeah, there's more than one.
Let's see, the 11-year-old boy, Gannon Stouch.
What? He's been missing for 2 weeks now, hasn't he?
I think so, yeah.
Coming on 2 weeks.
He's at, well, no, since the 27th of January, Colorado Springs boy.
So
And
it's
it's
been
been cold.
It has been really
It's been beyond cold.
you know, because here's the thing: once a child goes missing, and this is just some information, the department normally has 24 hours.
This is the boy.
The department normally has 24 hours to find the child,
Right.
or the lead goes cold and they have no choice but to close the case, because at that time all leads drop dead. It's the same way when the FBI investigates, a missing person. They have 48 hours to find that person.
Yep.
Because with sex trafficking, if these kids are going missing due to the fact of sex trafficking, within 24 to 48 hours, they can be anywhere across the country.
Anywhere in
They
the
can be-
world. Really?
Yeah, anywhere in the world, because, they're driving into the borders, putting on planes, boats, cargo ships. When these kids go missing, dude, like in my area, if I get a fucking Amber Alert across my phone, I go out and I start driving. Because the shit's sick.
It is. It absolutely
Like I read an article 2 weeks ago that prisons are giving offenders that are being released a fucking baby doll.
What?
Yeah, certain prisons in the United States are giving baby dolls to child molesters that have holes to be able to penetrate. Yeah. And now in our schools, they're teaching that pedophilia is a part of psychological part and is a part of,
yeah, absolutely. Yeah, they're doing that. That's happening.
that's in California right now. They're saying that that's a part of the LGBTQ community because of the LGBTQ plus P thing. And I'm going like, no, wait a minute. Wait the fuck a minute. I'm like, do not bash a community that I'm a part of. Nope, we have no affiliation with that at all whatsoever. Because as of in Ohio, a lot of people don't know this. I am one of the representatives in my state for our group. No, we don't play that shit. Like, how are you going to throw a community that's already had enough hatred on top of it?
That's why they're trying to sneak in, though, because they tried to create this big controversy to then create the group as a target.
Right.
So the group will be targeted, so then they as individuals can try to move freely, you see.
And here's my take on
Go ahead, Red.
Go ahead, Red.
Things that we know that are included in this curriculum, by the way, guys.
Right.
And we know this. We've seen
CSE, Comprehensive Sex Education. That's usually
right. Now, things that we know that are within this curriculum. We've seen the screenshots of the books and such. Anal, fisting, bloodletting, the use of common cheap household things in place of expensive vibrators and toys.
Yep. Which that can cause infection and everything else. So it's just not a smart thing to be teaching.
Right. That's what I was just getting ready to say. Because in my head, and I'm going to voice this, pedophiles that do this type of shit that Red was just talking about in the curriculum, if you're going to teach this shit in school, and you're going to teach it that way, you have a special spot in hell.
Yeah, like who are these people who feel this is comfortable to teach, right?
Well,
Like,
right.
Like, who thinks that this is like, I'm doing a really great service for the kids? Like,
Well, Scarlet, see, you make a good point because of the matter of the fact is that they're teaching this 3rd grade through 12.
even younger.
No, dear. They're teaching this kindergarten and
Yeah.
up.
Oh, I was only told 3rd grade, but another thing that they're teaching and making these kids watch as so young is pornographic movies. Like, I found out my child's watching that shit as a fucking kindergarten. I'm gonna pull your ass out and fucking homeschool you. Like, you don't need.
That's why the homeschool exodus has been so big in the past few years, because people are realizing that they're not subscribing to these agendas, and they don't want these values that that the school district and now legislators have claimed are appropriate for our children to be taught. You know,
Right.
they're
Like
so
when I was
great
in.
to bring up.
Oh, guys.
Huh.
Also, another part of this curriculum, which really blew me and Scarlet away when we found out about it. The teaching that relationships and monogamy in a relationship was a myth.
Right.
You know, and the matter of the fact is, you know, like when I was in sex ed, you know, it was basic. It was basic sex ed, basically on how to use a condom.
They didn't even teach
how to use the condom
until you were,
right. You know, it was,
but not for like young kids. Like the first sex ed you got was, okay, you're gonna get your period. I don't know if boys learned. Boys probably learned that, but we just learned about getting our period, and then we had to watch a video of a lady having a baby, and then they were like, here's some period products in a bag, and there.
Hi, Ron.
Well, because here's
I feel like that's enough, though. I mean, I feel like if you're just covering basics, why are we teaching kids step by step? And why is this not considered pedophilia in and of itself? I mean, they're giving them literal instruction.
Right. And my thing is,
go.
You know, is the shit that, see, sex, the whole sex ed thing nowadays is not what it used to be like when all of us were in school.
Right.
You know, like, I honestly believe that if you're teaching it like this, you need that signs for one, a pedophile, an unknown pedophile who will teach that class in a motherfucking heartbeat.
In a group of kids, you know, who are impressionable, and you're teaching this to everybody, no matter their maturity level, no matter if they're ready for it or not, no matter if they're emotionally ready. How do you know that a child in the classroom isn't being sexually abused or mistreated? And then you bring this up and you're getting very graphic with things, and you're saying these things are okay, and as long as you consent and this and that. And so now they're going to be confused to even maybe speak out about something because it's not told.
Carol.
Right. You know, and that's the whole thing, you know, because, like, getting a little bit irritated with this topic, but we're good. Anyways, so like I was saying, like, you never know who's teaching that class.
No.
You know, and kids
just get caught up in time. A lot of states don't even require you know, teaching licenses really.
Right.
Or, you know,
yes.
that nature.
Bonnie, grooming them in groups. You're absolutely right. Because like Scarlet and I have covered many, many times with this. There is a difference between teaching sex ed and teaching sex keys.
Right. You know, like, shit, it just slipped my mind. Oh, you know, like, kids shouldn't be taught anything about sex ed until they hit their teens, which is not till they're 13. Yeah, which is when most women or men hit fucking puberty.
And above could be taught, absolutely, because by then they understand some things, but it's not quite clear yet. And I think that's a good age to capture them while they're still immature, but not quite mature yet, where you could have that conversation. But anybody younger than that, and then once you're getting into like very intimate and other details, I think you're just opening up the door for a lot of potential dysfunction. You know, I just see that as a thing.
Right. You know, like when I'll give you an example. Like when I went through my sex ed class in college, you know, to become a paramedic, you know, it was different from high school, you know, or middle school.
Right.
You know, because sex ed going.
Because as you get older, you can learn more things about life or how things work, or, you know, they really just tried to snatch innocence from everybody. You know, there was a time and place where you could live longer as a virgin and not know about these things. But, you know, nowadays it seems like it's almost pushed into your face whether you want it or not.
Right. Like, look at all the kids now, like, that are wearing, you know, fucking chokers and, you know, wearing, and I'm not saying this, I'm not saying what I'm about to say is wearing like certain type of clothing. You know, all these kids are learning about bondage and shit at a way too fucking early age to where they're not mentally.
Tell them about this, Red. Tell them.
You know, where they're not mentally matured.
Tell them, Red.
You know, I didn't learn about that shit till I fucking went to EMS school.
Well, they're about to teach you in grade school. So tell them, Red.
Tell them what?
About how they're teaching the bondage, like in 4th grade.
Oh, yeah. Bloodletting, fisting, anal play. Yeah, they're gonna teach them all of these things, or about all of these things.
You know, and that's fucked up, because here, and
now,
this is someone that's
I
coming.
want everybody right now to think back to what we just talked about with adrenochrome.
Right.
And that's
then think about them now teaching your children from kindergarten up that bloodletting is a sexual, playful thing.
Yep. What if somebody goes too far and you're teaching them consent and you're teaching them this, and now you're making it okay for sexual acts to happen between children and adults, and bloodletting between children and adults, and there's issues for contamination and disease and just no.
Right.
And we do have places, even here in America, that are allotting for children marriages.
And there's a lot of states that still do a lot for it and allow children at very young ages to still get married. And we had went through those states, you know, before, and it's an easy, you know, search of what states still allow child marriage, and it comes right out.
Right. You know, like my state, a couple years ago, the age of consent was 16 or older. You know, there was that 2-year law, right?
Right.
So say if my sister was 14 years old. Well, it was 4, then it went to 2 in Ohio. Ohio just changed it. But anyways, so say if my sister was 14 years old, right? And wanted to have sex with a 21-year-old. As long as my sister went and got permission from my mother, the state of Ohio would not find it child molestation because the parent consented. And that's fucked up. And if I ever caught my sister having sex at the age of 14, thank God I was locked up for certain reasons. So my thing is, if I caught my sister having sex with a 21-year-old while you're 14, I don't give a damn if my mom gave my permission. I'm coming and beating your ass, then I'm coming back at my mother going, like, the fuck were you thinking? A 14-year-old, the laws have changed so much with how sex has changed. You know, like everybody now
done by design. And, you know, we talked about Alfred Kinsey and his research in the early 40s and 50s when he became friends with Hugh Hefner, who was in college at the time.
Right.
Alfred Kinsey did experiments where they had adults and pedophiles masturbate children and write the effects and did all this papers on them. And, Hugh Hefner thought he was the smartest and greatest person there ever was. So, and he said he would always be his right-hand pamphleteer. So,
Right.
that being said, this is all done by design, why our culture went to a sexualized culture. With the first two books of Alfred Kinsey being, the sexual anatomy of the American male, sexual anatomy of the American female, and then those books, which I said, were experiments from children and pedophiles masturbating children with, watches and doing some experiments. They even wrote in the notes up to 24 hours in a day and just really insane situations that no one should ever have gone through. But yet somehow when you look up who is the father of the sexual revolution, it's Alfred Kinsey.
Right. And let me say this, because I was going to touch on this with what Red was saying about the whole bondage shit and everything. I'm in the community, okay? Let me just say that, because I will come from firsthand experience. That shit doesn't happen right the fuck away, And let me just put it to you like this. They're going to get the kids' mind fucked up between the dominant mindset and the submissive mindset. Because here's the reason why I'm going to say this. Because the trust is earned for you to be able to do that shit. It is. And I hate to bring that up, but they're going to fucking teach these kids that it's okay to tie somebody up, even if they don't agree with it. My mind is just fucking blown. Because this shit, excuse the word I'm about to say, is fucking retarded. Oh my fucking Lord, how stupid can America get?
Yes, I would agree with you. And Bonnie, you said the rights of the child not to be used as chattel. They don't have any rights according to these people.
No.
And we have gone back to when children were property to be used. Girl, you have no idea. We have people who are literally, okay, I'm going to bring up, right now we're going to bring up John of God.
Right.
He was running a secret thing where he had a place full of pregnant women giving birth to children to sell.
Much like Epstein's plan at the Zorro Ranch to impregnate women with his impeccable seed.
Yes.
And then create a whole little, colony of,
We have parents selling their children to these people. We have people giving their children to these people. We have people sacrificing their children to these people.
Right.
I will be back on once I get into a room. I'll talk to you guys later.
Okay, sounds good. Continue. Go ahead, Red.
So I mean, it's beyond just using children like their property.
Right.
And we were also, I think, even still to this day, even to really put together the whole live art shipping thing.
Yes. Live art. Do you want to explain what that is, Red?
The live art, okay. You can ship live art. You have to have a particular license for this, which Epstein did hold. Because he was an art dealer, right? So
Yep.
you could literally drug a child, tie them up in all sorts of ways, label it live art, and ship them. And even if somebody opened the crate and saw them, it wasn't illegal. There wasn't anything wrong, and they would continue to ship it. Because as far as they're concerned, the paperwork included with that says that it is an art specimen portraying whatever they've made up for whatever freaking artistic purpose. And thus the child is there by his own accord and is thus being paid or blah, 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 and ships them on.
So the way that they traffic, especially these upper echelon circles children, is by live art.
Correct.
So it's a very, draconian practice, but it works for them. People like Marina Abramovich, the spirit cooking, all of that.
Yep. So yeah. And we were talking about that before Epstein even got busted.
That's true. It's very true.
I haven't ever heard anybody else really bring that up.
No. I hadn't either, really. To be fair. And so that's why we thought we would bring this back up, because during a time where everybody's paying attention to the State of the Union speech, the Super Bowl halftime show, impeachment, just everything else, but we have a child missing. This is still happening every day in America. Besides
the FBI and Justice Department aren't going after these people because they're part of it.
Right. There's too many people who would be toppled, honestly, if they were to take everyone out. The government would probably collapse as we know it.
Oh, yeah.
Honestly. Now, we're going to start talking about the coronavirus, because that's obviously the next most popular thing going on right now, and for good reason. Okay. So I'm going to start sharing my screen. I've got a few, let me actually set it up first, because I've got an article that I want to read that I translated that's fresh off the press, that I want everybody to see. Where's it at? Here it is. And then go back to the Zoom. Come on. Here we go. I'm going to share screen. Google Translate. Shenzhen's closed city bursts into Hong Kong. Okay, this is a new article. Picture shows a roll from Shenzhen seen from the Shenzhen Bay Highway Bridge on February 8th. Update. So, new coronavirus, Wuhan pneumonia, escape Shenzhen, Fencheng. The Epoch Times. The outbreak of new coronavirus in Wuhan continues to worsen, with confirmed cases in Guangdong, second only to Hubei, and the first death, after provinces and cities announced the closures of provinces and cities. Guangzhou and Shenzhen also announced the implementation of closed measures. After the news, a large number of people poured into Hong Kong the evening of February 7th. On the evening of February 7th, Shenzhen's new coronavirus infected pneumonia epidemic prevention and control headquarters released news that 100% of its communities of all communities in Shenzhen implemented closed management. 100% of people with a history of travel in key areas of the epidemic in the past 14 days lived at home in isolation. 100% of people who have a history of close contact with the case will implement centralized quarantine, and the residential units with confirmed cases will be implemented with hard isolation for 14 days. The Shenzhen municipal government announced that all vehicles in the city will be fully controlled from February 8th, requiring vehicles entering Shenzhen to apply online 1 day in advance before entering Shenzhen, including all vehicles outside Shenzhen, followed by Shenzhen vehicles that have been to the outbreak area. Hong Kong Stance News reported that the above news came out. A large number of people wanted to flood into Hong Kong on the 7th. From the live video at that time, before 10:28 that evening, long queues of taxis appeared at the Shenzhen port to bring the Shenzhen people into Hong Kong. The long car queue is about 1 kilometer long, which for us people is about 3 miles. The first case of death in Guangdong was a 55-year-old man from Zhaoqing who had a contact history with attorneys from Wuhan. Among cumulative reported cases in Guangdong province, Shenzhen has the largest number, followed by Guangzhou. Since the closure of the airport, railway, and mass transportation in Wuhan's closed city on the 23rd of last month, Wuhan, the worst affected area, announced on the afternoon of February 7th that it would implement closed management of villages and groups to form a province. According to the China Science News, headed by scientific research institutions such as the Chinese Academy of Sciences, Beijing ranked first in a ranking of Chinese urban epidemic coefficient in the next 15 days, followed by Wuhan, Guangzhou, Chongqing, Shanghai, Hangzhou, and Chengdu, Wenzhou, and Shenzhen. On February 7th, Guangzhou and Shenzhen announced the implementation of closed management, and 16 provinces and municipalities in Anhui province implemented the same measures. So far, Hubei, Jiangxi, Liaoning, and Anhui have been closed provinces, and at least 80 cities have conducted community closed management. Independent economist Cold Eyes on Finance and Economics believes that Guangzhou fired the first shot of first-tier cities closing, meaning that the Wuhan virus has been completely out of control across the country. A new outbreak peak is coming, and the population of the country entering closed city model has reached 400 million. Most of them are with regions of high levels of economic development. So literally 400 million people, so more than the population of the United States right now, is dealing with a lockdown. That's something really to think about right now. You know, honestly, let's think about that. That more people, oh, we're going to get this off. More people than the whole population of America, right, is right now having a lockdown in China. That's just amazing to me, more than the population of the United States.
Right.
So then we've got another article here that we're going to share about supposedly, now I had brought this up to you the other day, and I was like, what if this disease potentially is nanotechnology? And what if, you know, they've been sending little nanobots and activating them? Well, not quite that, but Israeli startup says its nanotech masks and robes may block coronavirus. Sanovia's textiles are resistant to bacteria and fungus. Firm hopes its tech will also work against virus, has sent samples to China for testing. An Israeli startup, Sanovia Limited, said it may have ability to create virus-resistant masks and textiles to help combat the coronavirus by using a nanotechnology process it developed to impregnate textiles with antifungal and antibacterial chemicals. The firm says using a patented nanotechnology process developed at Israel's Bar Ilan University has managed to create masks and protective textile equipment that has been proven effective in blocking the penetration of bacteria and fungus. Now, Jason Migdal, in charge of business development at the firm, says he believes the same method could also be beneficial to halt viruses and could be effective in helping halt the spread of the deadly coronavirus. Migdal said the startup has sent textile samples impregnated with the zinc using the same method to the Chinese Academy of Sciences. Oh, thank you for the ad. For its lab to test the efficacy of the method against viruses. Studies have shown that nanoparticles of zinc, silver, and graphite, all viral inhibitors, Migdal told the Times of Israel in a phone interview, that its process could also be useful in fighting viruses. The Chinese lab will follow a European protocol to test the fabric's antiviral activity, Migdal said. We have a video. The virus has started in China and has infected at least 28,000 people globally, and more 560 have died. We're up to numbers higher than that. We're going to share those in a second. Sanofi has developed ultrasonic fabric, has declared an outbreak a global emergency by the WHO, and has warned governments to prepare for domestic outbreak control if the disease were to spread in their countries. Sanofi has developed ultrasonic fabric finishing technology for the mechanical impregnation of zinc oxide particles, nanoparticles, which are known to be a strong antimicrobial and antiviral agent, into textiles in a permanent manner. The The process uses sound waves in water that break down the zinc into nanoparticles that are formed within bubbles of air. When the bubbles explode, they create tiny jet streams of liquid that force the nanoparticles of zinc into the surface of the fabric for long-term durability, McDowell said. The impregnated textile is able to maintain its antipathogen activity at up to 100 washes at 75 Celsius and 65 washes at 92 degrees Celsius, he said. We have demonstrated clear bactericidal activity against a broad spectrum of infections in laboratory tests. That a pilot study at a European hospital showed when the impregnated fabrics were used in protective clothing, there was a significant reduction of infections. There was less bacteria in the ears and in the mouth as well. Because the face masks were meant for repeated use, it could be distributed effectively where they are needed most in China, as well as being more sustainable to the environment and local economy. Zenobia technology recently got a $2.4 million million euro grant from the European Commission under the Horizon 2020 program, McDowell said. The Ramat Gan Israel-based firm was founded in 2013 by Shrey Hershevich and Joshua Hershevich. Interesting. So, nanotechnology, y'all. Why don't we have this now? Somebody just thought about putting nanoparticles or even sewing. You know, a lot of companies have used like silver impregnated fabrics and things for a long time in specialized textiles. So why wasn't this thought of before? Just saying. It's something to think about.
Yeah.
You know, it is something to think about. Now we're going to go check the update on the numbers as of right now, which are, I had another article too that I was going to read after this. We're going to check on the coronavirus first. Okay. We're going to go to B&O News because I like their coverage and they have a good map and it's a beautiful thing. And here we go. So we're currently at 34,909 confirmed cases worldwide, including 724 fatalities. So there are 24,953 cases in Hubei province with 699 deaths, 4,188 serious, 1,007 critical patients, and that's including Wuhan itself, the epicenter of the outbreak. Now, we know a lot of these numbers are conflated, and I'm going to read you something now that will explain why. Because we all know that something's going on in China. The videos that have come out from China have been next level, okay? They have shown a side of the world that I don't think many people want to see. These videos are pouring out because these people have no other choice but to try to get the world to at least stand with them in spirit or in solidarity. They know that this is quite bad for them. This is not a good thing for them. And I'm gonna read something now. Why? And I posted this a little earlier. Okay. And there's a Australian Yahoo News article about this. And this particular write-up is via Laura Wells on Facebook. And she also does YouTube videos as well, if you want to go check her out. I think it's like Laura Wells News and Research and Astronomy News and Research, something like that. I'll find out her title and I will put it up there for you guys. We get the Epoch Times newspaper at home, and they're a very legit news source. We just read an article from Epoch Times, right? And it was translated from Chinese. And I used Google Translate to translate the information from the Chinese article also. Daily cremation of about 341 new crown dead in just 2 halls of Hubei a day. That's 2 halls only. Wait until you hear the rest of the numbers. Hundreds and hundreds of bodies being burned every day. Read to the end. February 7th, 2020, Epoch Times reporter Wang Hufa and He Jian interviewed and reported. The Wuhan new crown pneumonia spread rapidly across the country and other countries due to the CCP's concealment and blockade of the epidemic. Official statistics cannot reflect the actual situation. The latest Epoch Times survey found that on the February 3rd, the number of new crown disease patients cremated in the several funeral homes of Hubei exceeded the total number of pneumonia deaths in Wuhan as of that day, as announced by the Chinese authorities. The Epoch Times interviewed executives of several funeral homes in Hubei through unannounced visits. And learned that the actual daily cremation volume of just 2 of them was 4 to 5 times the actual volume. To protect the interviewees, the article uses a pseudonym temporarily. A funeral parlor in Hubei burned 116 new crown pneumonia victims a day. Yu Hu of the funeral home in Hubei revealed to the investigator, "I'm about to collapse, and we're under great pressure now. The current transportation and cremation capacity are usually 4 to 5 escorts." February 3rd, I received 127 corpses and burned 116. Among them, only 8 were confirmed on the death certificate, new coronary pneumonia coronavirus, and 48 were suspected. This funeral home outside Hankou is busy to collapse. What about the Hankou funeral home, which is responsible for the more severe Hankou area? Yuhu said, "I passed through the Hankou funeral parlor. Its business volume is greater than mine, and its pressure is greater than mine." Yuhu said the funeral home began to be cremated at 6 in the morning, and it will not work until noon. And the current situation is that the remains were taken over and immediately cremated. Yuhu said that his funeral home had 18 cremators, but only 11 cremator furnaces were operational. Yuhu's funeral home can currently burn up to 316 remains a day. In reality, on the eve of the first wave of the deaths in new coronary pneumonia, taking up February 3rd as an example, the funeral parlor picked up 127 remains and burned 116 on the same day. Judging from the current policy of the Communist Party of China's new crown disease patients, remains to be cremated immediately. Funeral parlors must give priority to the burning of the new crown disease patient's body. Other deceased bodies may not be burned on the same day due to funeral culture, rituals, and other reasons. Based on this, it can be inferred that the 116 dead were basically all died of the neocoronary pneumonia, or at least suspected to have died of the disease. In other words, more than 90% of the 116 out of 127 remains of this funeral parlor were dead of the neo-crown pneumonia. Only 8 of the one single day group on the official death count for coronavirus. That's just one for one day alone, February 3rd. Hankou Funeral Home burns at least 225 new crown pneumonia victims a day at the moment when the death peak of the new crown virus hits. How many patients' remains are burned every day in the Hankou Funeral Home? The website of Hankou Funeral Home states that it's equipped with 30 high-end cremator furnaces. However, the Epoch Times investigators learned that Hankou Funeral Home currently has 20 cremator furnaces operating 24 hours a day. Based on the cremation efficiency of the funeral home revealed by Yu Hu, the Hankou Funeral Home can currently burn up to 576 remains per day. Yu Hu said that his funeral parlor now has 9 funeral vehicles. In the past, one person was pulled by one vehicle, and now there are at least 2. Then remove the chairs on the bus, and that is not a funeral vehicle, and pull 7 or 8 at a time each. As for the transportation capacity, actual cremation volume of Hankou Funeral Homes combined with the land media reports and announcements from Hubei Civil Affairs Department, it is known that Hankou Funeral Homes previously had 9 funeral vehicles. On January 20th, the Wuhan Civil Affairs Bureau stipulated that Hankou Funeral Homes would receive the remains of new patients with new coronavirus pneumonia, and other funeral homes should handle ordinary remains. But around January 22nd, the number of deaths from patients with new coronary pneumonia began to surge, and Civil Affairs was forced to involve more funeral homes to deal with patient remains. Hubei Provincial Department of Civil Affairs coordinated 10 funeral vehicles to support Wuhan's funeral homes, mainly to invest in Hankou Funeral Home, which burned the remains of patients with new crown disease has been increased. According to the announcement of Hubei Civil Affairs, the funeral car in Hankou Funeral Home has increased to 16 since then. Based on the capacity of the 9 funeral vehicles disclosed by Yu Hu and the 127 corpses received in one day, the number of corpses that can be transported by 16 vehicles per day is about 225 in Hankou. According to Wuhan's current policy, Hankou funeral centers can take delivery. The body can only be the deceased patient's coronary pneumonia. From this, we can see that Hankou Funeral Parlor can currently burn up to 576 corpses per day, but due to transportation constraints, it currently burns about 225 corpses of new crown patients each day. The number of cremation in a single day at several funeral homes exceeded the total of number of deaths claimed by the CCP, according to the information disclosed by Yuhu. There are 8 municipal funeral homes in Wuhan, of which Wuchang Funeral Home handles the remains of new crown patients in 8 of the first 3 batches of 23 designated hospitals in Wuhan. It is mainly responsible for Wuchang District and Hanyang District. Hankou Funeral Parlor undertakes another 8 hospitals, mainly responsible for Zhenggan, Jinghan, Tonghu, Dongshu districts. Qingshan Funeral Parlor is responsible for 2 hospitals in Qingshan District, and the remaining hospitals are each by Kaidan, Jiangcha, Huangpi, and Jinzhou District Funeral Parlors should be responsible for. According to the public information of the funeral industry, there are 10 cremation furnaces in the funeral home in Kaidan District and 7 cremation furnaces in the funeral home of Fanghua District. As of February 4th, the number of newly designated hospitals for coronal pneumonia in Wuhan has been expanded to 29, including the Lei Shenshan Hospital delivered on February 6th. Taking the funeral parlor in Jinzhou District as an example, the Epoch Times investigator also interviewed the executives of the funeral parlor in Jinzhou District. The other party said this is a lot of pressure now. Employees are working overtime continuously and are very tired. About 30 remains were processed. Not to mention here, where the 30 remains a day will make 9 cremation furnaces in the funeral parlor in Jinzhou District operate for 24 hours. Even with this calculation, 5 funeral homes such as Qingshan and Jinzhou now process only 30 remains a day, of which about 9 become new crown patients. These 5 funeral homes in Wuhan have at least burned at least 135 new crown patients each day. According to the funeral homes where Yuhu is located in the 116 funeral homes where Yuhu is located in the 225 patient remains of Hankou, and at least 3 of the funeral crematoriums of these funeral homes each day burned at least 476 of the new crown disease patients. The Chinese Communist Party Health Committee said that as of 2400 on February 3rd, 425 people with this new type of coronary pneumonia died. In other words, at the beginning of the first outbreaks of deaths of infected patients, the number of corpses cremated by new crown pneumonia every day in these funeral homes in Hubei has surpassed the death of any new crown patients in more than 1 month announced by the CCP total people. This does not include the number of remains of new crown patients who are forced to park in hospitals, residence homes, or even on the streets due to capacity of funeral parlors. The dark secret hidden by death certificate, Epoch Times found in the investigation that of the 127 remains that Yuhu received on February 3rd, only 8 had confirmed deaths of new crown pneumonia, and only 48 had suspected death of new crowns. However, the remaining 71 deceased were obviously far more than the normal number of corpses in the funeral home. And this news revealed by Jinzhou Funeral Home was even more bizarre. Of the 22 remains received on February 3rd, only 3 were diagnosed with the new coronary pneumonia. Other more severe patients have not been tested by reagents to confirm the diagnosis, or the hospital is reluctant to issue a death certificate suspected of new coronary pneumonia. And it did not indicate the cause of death was new crown or suspected new crown, but other reasons such as severe pneumonia or respiratory failure. That is to say, the vast majority of Chinese who have been killed by new crown pneumonia cannot get a true death certificate, but only receive death certificates issued by community health stations for cremation. Behind this is the hidden darkness and secrets that the cremator cannot burn. The Epoch Times and other media at home and abroad have previously reported that the vast majority of Wuhan residents who are suspected of contracting the new crown virus are seriously ill and cannot wait for the detection reagents to confirm diagnosis. Moreover, because the hospital lacks medical resources such as beds, these patients can only suffer at home and helplessly let the virus spread to their loved ones, and more victims in society, many of whom die silently. In the special investigation of the funeral home in Hubei, both Yuhu and Jinzhou funeral homes confirmed to the investigators that most of the remains were not taken from the hospital, but directly from the deceased home. We've been covering this with videos where bodies are laying out in the streets and being taken out of homes. Yuhu said, I made a statistic a few days ago, and 38% were picked up by the hospital and 61% died at home. So the medical condition is very bad. You think about it, more than 60% died at home. Don't believe these dog officials, Yuhu said angrily. Don't imagine them like this. This news article says that Wuhan crematoriums are burning bodies 24/7 to cope with the extra workload during coronavirus outbreak. In January, there were multiple news sources saying China was accused of cremating bodies in secret as coronavirus patient numbers spike. Multiple people from right here in China and these Chinese healthcare workers were all saying the death count is much higher. They all stated from the start that the bodies were going straight to the incinerators. They also started that most don't go towards the official death count. This has been confirmed by multiple people on the ground in China also. Some are going to jail or coming up missing for speaking out. Days after this so-called rumor about the bodies going straight to incinerators to be burned, China came out with this news article in February. China's National Health Commission now saying victims of coronavirus should be immediately cremated after death. Burial is not an option. Seems like confirmation to all the whistleblower, healthcare workers, journalists, and people over there saying that the death count is much higher and they're cremating a ton of bodies. Now we have legit news sources and an idea of legit numbers. According to workers, they said they're very tired and worn down, and hundreds of bodies of coronavirus patients are being burned a day, most of which don't make it on the official death number list. So that is the story in Wuhan.
And I'll add to that I saw a article that said that they were going to start using or had already started using thermal drones to detect the coronavirus in their people in China.
Right.
And so my first question was, how is a thermal reading going to tell you that they have a virus? So they're just going to basically be like, oh, your body temperature is higher than everyone else's, so you're possibly infected. I see a lot of dangers with that, to say the least. And then the next thing that I wanted to bring up is there's been a lot of videos come in that they are literally like driving down the street with these big machines spraying this fog stuff. They're walking down the streets with these things. They're spraying all these things everywhere. It's crazy.
It is. It's absolutely just insane. You know, we know that this is happening. We've seen the videos. People are trying to speak out. You know, I've been trying to share as much information as possible. I know Ron has been trying to share as much information as possible. Everybody's been trying to be out here writing, you know, articles, putting out the information as best as we can, because we are watching true genocide happening right now in China.
Right.
And nobody thinks about that.
Right.
So I think that that's what's important about this, is that, and now that we're in medical martial law, or MML, as we're going to call it, because we're only going to reference it a couple times, and then you guys got to pick up. So now that we're in MML, we are in extreme danger for them to come after all of our rights. It takes a few of our rights right off the bat, such as, and for instance, First Amendment kind of goes out the window, because now they can pick you up by either HHS or DOD for anything that would potentially get in the way of protecting transmission through borders. Okay.
Right.
And whether that's state, county, federal, doesn't matter. Okay. So now the Department of Health and Human Services now has total control over us. Okay. And the Health and Human Services Secretary is the king in charge. Now, then, Second Amendment, we still have intact, because they haven't come for our guns yet. Okay, yet. But then you think Fourth Amendment, the right to illegal search and seizure. Now that is gone, because now that we are under MML, they can come and just snatch us out of our houses and say we came in contact with somebody who was in contact, who could potentially have the coronavirus. And then now you're going to have to go to their quarantine facility no matter what they say. So that's ultimate control at that point.
It is, absolutely.
And so I don't think that people thought about this and what this ultimate control entails, but this is where we are. We're at the point of ultimate control. We're at the point where they are ready to just take us out for whatever cost necessary.
Right.
Yeah, you know, North Korea, we had heard that potentially through BNO that they had 7 cases, but that would have to be confirmed by the North Korean government. At one point, North Korea had the border closed. At one point, they said, hey, China, we can offer you some help, because they are partners. That is true. But at the same time, it concerns you. For what is coming ahead, because if they're already having issues and we know that they have, you know, some connections, not a whole bunch, but some connections together,
Right.
and they're already hurting, what's going to happen to everybody else? You know, this thing is spreading larger and larger, and if what I just read is true and correct, which I do believe it is, I trust Laura. Laura's a great person. She said once they, you know, she gets the house under control, they're building a house right now, that she's going to finally come on the show and join us here on Clarity After Dark, which her research is great, and we've featured on the show many, many times, and always given dear Laura credit for that. But if that is true, we are in serious issues. If that's true. I mean, I just don't know how to not say, like, we're in martial law, like, this is go time, everybody. Like, if there ever was a time that we were concerned that they could take over the United States and completely try to take over patriots, this is it. This is it. Regardless of if the disease is here or not. This is it.
That's very true indeed.
You know, yeah, she is a good researcher. You know, Laura's great. You know, she just can spend the time to write it out, where I don't always spend the time to write it out, and we sit on Clarity After Dark and talk about it. Like, that's honestly true. You know, maybe I'll get better about writing out more long, descriptive, you know, analysis on it. But, you know, for now, come tune into Clarity After Dark and other shows where I show up and you can hear basically my write-up, so to speak. So, but it's just, we're at a time right now where they can just take over everything, and I'm not feeling good about it. I don't feel comfortable. I just don't. There's too many cases everywhere for me to feel like, oh, okay, you know, it's fine. Oh, speaking of which, this would be a good time to bring up, like I said, we're going to be having a contest, everybody. We're going to be having a contest for a 72-hour kit, okay, with Ready Hour. Ready Hour is one of our new sponsors here. If you're watching on freedomrevolutionnetwork.com, you should be able to see right next to the video box a thing you can click on for Ready Hour and My Patriot Supply. This is a 72-hour kit. We'll be giving this away to one of our listeners, including the things inside. You get black bean soup, okay, really good stuff, up to 25-year shelf life, emergency food storage, under the Ready Hour brand, okay. You also get creamy chicken flavored rice, okay. There's a lot of servings in this. It makes the whole container. You use 5 cups of water, and I'm telling you, you might need a little bit more water than that. I've made some of these before, and this makes, like, you know, the large packages like soup at the store, it makes like that much, or if not more. So you're gonna need, you know, this is why sometimes if you can't try it, you know, you have at least somebody to tell you might want to add a little bit more water, if anything else, because they're very flavorful. Homestyle potato soup will also come in this pack, made in the USA. Like I said, 25-year shelf life, tastes pretty good. I find it to be filling, and it would probably honestly last you longer than 72 hours, because how much these make. They're full to the top, like how much this actually makes. You could probably eat off this for a day or two if you just kept keeping it warm or had a way to store the food itself. Of which you could just like try to keep it warm the whole time, or just even eat it, because if you know you're gonna die anyway, you just eat it. So mac and cheese, as well as I will be including a few different things for people. I'm gonna put in a few of the antimicrobial level 3 masks that are germ masks that have a foam layer strip inside, as well as an inner layer, an outer layer that protects the germs from actually going in. So this is an antimicrobial mask that they would use, medical grade, as well as a few SaniCloths, which are hospital grade disinfectant cloths that you could use to try to disinfect your area, as well as a Sternocan emergency blanket, and probably some boot covers is what we can try to swing. So we'll be giving that away. We're going to have a contest page on the Freedom Revolution Network website where you can sign up, and we're going to try to give this away, like I said, in the next 2 weeks. So, you know, stay tuned for the contest page so you can sign up and win. So there'll probably be some email ways to sign up. There might be joining the social network on the website. We might have you do a few things that are fun, call in, you know, and we'll definitely be announcing the winner and then shipping it out to you. So hope people are ready to win some things for preparedness, and hopefully that'll find people well at the right time. So, you know, definitely check us out and check out My Patriot Supply. They have many different, you know, items and things. I've been ordering from My Patriot Supply for years. So definitely check it out. I highly recommend My Patriot Supply, and whether it's their seeds or their water or, you know, some of their hard products, you know, solar panels, whatever it is, I definitely trust them. They have money back guarantee on their items. You know, I think it's like a 30-day or something like that, 45-day money back guarantee. So definitely know that you're investing with a good company when you go with My Patriot Supply. Ready Hour, like I said, is just a little bit different version. It's one of their new lines, but it's still within the My Patriot Supply family. You know, the packaging usually looks, Patriot Pantry looks a little bit different. I don't know what their packaging looks like now. This is their older package. I always like this colonial package, you know, food for self-reliant patriots. This is an orange energy drink mix that has, you know, vitamin A, calcium, vitamin D, vitamin C, and has good amounts of that as well. And this makes quite a lot of drink. So check it out. Maybe get yourself prepared. I ordered a few things this week. I ordered breakfast muffins, as well as an Alexa Pure pitcher this week, and wild edible food cards, which I'm really excited about. Where did you go, Red? Rude, where did you go? Where did you go, Red? How do you leave me during this time? Red. Where'd you go, Red? I'm so sad. Okay. So, did you mute yourself and don't realize it, or why'd you mute yourself, or? Dang it, Red. Okay, so we're gonna go back and find article, because I had a couple more that I actually was gonna bring up. Like, here we go. Oh, we should check earthquakes too while we're at it. Saw Ron in the chat. Hello, Ron, and everybody in chat. Hello, friends. Indonesia. Okay, 5.5. And then now a storm in Seram, Indonesia. Few deeper earthquakes in Chile and Bolivia. Western Turkey, Kansas, Central Alaska. Okay, back to my articles. So we were going to read one that was talking about a few different things that I was going to bring up. Oh yeah, this was what I wanted to talk about. Cutting edge science, OCD drug designed by artificial intelligence. We're gonna talk about that. I don't know where Red went. Red, where'd you go? You back
I'm
up?
here.
Oh, you muted yourself.
I didn't. I'm here.
You did mute yourself. Okay, hold on. Now we're gonna read this article together though. You ready? Okay. Wait. OCD drug designed by artificial intelligence. Okay. In this August 2019 file photo, rows of servers are lined up at Blue Bridge Networks in Cleveland. Two pharmaceutical companies have embarked on a brave new world, having begun human testing for the first time on a drug treatment for obsessive compulsive disorder designed by artificial intelligence. The British startup Excentia and Japan's Sumitomo Nippon Pharma used artificial intelligence to create the drug in less than 12 months, cutting 4 years from the average time it takes ordinary humans to develop a medication. Excentia CEO Andrew Hopkins described the clinical human trial of the drug, a molecule called DSP-1181, as a key milestone in drug discovery. Our driving motivation is to accelerate the range of innovative drugs from cutting-edge science entering into the clinic to increase the treatment options for patients. That means reducing time to make and test a drug. The consumer should see benefits from the faster progress to the clinic. Artificial intelligence has been used to quickly and accurately diagnose diseases and analyze patient data. But at this time, it had a more robotic, hands-on role in the creation of a medicine. I had to, it was really dry. Okay, that's better. The AI created the drug by using algorithms that sifted and sorted through compounds to determine the safest and most effective one for treating a specific disease. Well, how do they know that? Different properties of molecules will create different side effects. And so it's a very intriguing idea to use AI, a computer, to help predict, said Wendell Gibby, a radiologist in Utah and CEO of Novarad, a healthcare technology and imaging company. AI is a very powerful technique that's being used across many fields of medicine, especially in radiology. Excentia used a machine learning platform called Centaur Chemist, which reportedly trims off years needed to research new compounds by pairing AI methods with knowledge about how medicines interact with the human body, according to news website Tech Acrobat. The tool can study millions of molecular combinations and a much quicker alternative to scientists who operate in the real world, the tech news company wrote. Because of the artificial intelligence, the candidate compound for the drug to treat obsessive compulsive disorder was found in a search of 350 synthesized compounds rather than the average 2,500. DSP-1181 entered phase 1 trials in Japan at the end of January. And if trials are successful, plans to develop the drug globally, including for the US, will be underway. Ooh, you see this top story right here? Guillotine the rich. Sanders the gaffer says he's ready for armed revolution. Anything with revolution has got my eyeballs because, you know, we at the Freedom Revolution Network are watching this. Okay, video shows man identified as paid South Carolina field organizer, Project Veritas. Project Veritas. They know they're fantastic too. They do fantastic work. American Pravda, the book that James wrote, great. So they say got another pro-Soviet, pro-Gulag Bernie Sanders campaign staffer. This one saying in a hidden camera video released Tuesday that he was ready to get armed for the revolution and musing about sending Republicans to re-education camps. I don't find this whole re-education camp thing funny. Do you? I don't find it funny.
No, I don't.
I'm not here for that. Like, that's not cute. The footage was featured a man identified as a paid South Carolina field organizer, Martin Weisberger, was posted a week after the release of the video featuring radical Iowa field organizer Kyle Jurek, a part of the undercover journalism outfits Expose 2020 series. Kiddie Project Veritas. In the video, Mr. Weisberger described himself as a communist and said that he was in contact with groups that plan to hold mass yellow vest protests like those that have roiled France if Mr. Sanders loses. I'm already on Twitter following numerous groups around the country that are ready to organize Yellow Vest protests, he said, over a beer in a restaurant. I mean, I'm ready. I mean, ready to start tearing bricks up, start fighting. I'm a no cap, bro. I'll straight up get armed. I want to learn how to shoot and go train. I'm ready for the fucking revolution, bro. And he said, I'm telling you, guillotine the rich. The breaking second paid staffer praises gulags, send Republicans to re-education camps. What the hell? So let's talk about that real quick. Do you think that Bernie Sanders and his field officers can start the revolution, Rick?
I think the potential's there.
I mean, so they're trying to say they're Antifa? Because he said he was a no cap. So, like, are you trying to say?
But then again, we already know from Dinesh D'Souza that Antifa really is just the new strong arm in placement of the KKK, which was the original strong arm of the Democrats.
True. We do know that. We have been taught that. We have been made aware of that. That is true. You know, it's just really sad to see that this is where we're getting and this is where it's heading. I don't think that you have to guillotine the rich, because once you kill all the rich, then who's making all the money?
Right.
Okay. So that's the only issue that I have. Like, okay, but you want to kill capitalism, but then what? We haven't come up with that plan yet, nor has it been exercised anywhere in the world that it's worked. Look at China right now. Look at China.
Right.
Case in point, right there, done.
And again, I would like to point out that, you know, is it a coincidence that China was having all those riots and everything going on in the streets and them rising up against their government, and now all of a sudden they're being plagued with viruses, wiped out, burned, locked in their homes, possibly buried alive, thermal seeking drones, having stuff spraying on them in a big mist cloud that's ridiculous. Like, I'm just saying.
Right. Exactly.
And again, everyone also needs to remember that Wuhan is where 5G was rolled out.
Just recently, yes. And they've been setting up 5G centers to help supposedly combat the virus too, they claim.
Yeah.
So let's not forget that.
Or spread.
True. That is true. You know, many states are becoming dictatorial about measles vaccinations everywhere. Red and I know about these fights concurrently, whether it's New Jersey, whether it's New York, whether it's been even Florida trying to come up with bills, you know, Iowa, Minnesota, Colorado, everywhere has tried to come up with bills in the last year.
Right.
It's been crazy. You know, and they said they're going to continue. You know, the Minnesota Law Review said, hey, we want to make, you know, mandatory childhood vaccinations the number one issue. And now that we're under medical martial law, they can make us all take the vaccinations.
Right.
Okay? That's half of the problem. Now, it's not just about that, because, you know, everybody's always like, oh, it's always about the vaccines and the money. Okay, no. People are dropping like flies. So we went a little further than just people want this event, or the powers that be want this event for the vaccines. Because if that's all they wanted it for, people wouldn't be dropping like flies already. They would wait a while and then make people kind of wait right in when it's getting in the middle of it, you know, then stretch it out, and then here comes be the savior. But with this, they've already said, no, we're going to try to have a vaccine ready by April 1st.
Right.
So this is what concerns me about that is they're already saying, nope, by April 1st, we're going to have this done. We're going to have some type of, just all the drugs that they're throwing at it don't necessarily even make sense. Why are they throwing these drugs at it? But I don't even think they care.
They don't.
But they're throwing crazy drugs at this.
They are throwing crazy drugs.
Yeah, they're saying they're using cocktail mixes of HIV drugs and Tamiflu, and it's just really interesting.
And it makes no sense for the symptoms.
Well, and it doesn't, I mean, but if they're supposedly, if that Indian gentleman's research is correct, then it's not too crazy that they're using it because the man said that there was HIV protein inside of the coronavirus. So if that's the case, it makes more sense to me why they would be using this, but there's a big issue right now in China. The Wall Street Journal, I'm going to share this article with everybody. We're going to read through that with the Wall Street Journal, and then we'll talk about this after Red, because I think this is the point of where it's getting and why we should be paying attention to it here. In China, anger simmers over coronavirus doctor's death. Dr. Li Wenlang, who died of the disease, was one of the first to warn of it before he was questioned by police. Beijing. China pledged through investigations. No, dang you, the Wall Street Journal, don't you lock this? Hold on. Let me go to my smart news, everybody. Because you know what? I get tired of them blocking and making us pay. We might have to get like a subscription at some point. I don't want to, but some other news networks have to do it, and we might have to too, but I don't want to. News should be free, y'all. News should be free.
This is true.
I mean, at least still make a newspaper or something that people could buy so you could feel. I don't know if you could still even buy the Wall Street Journal. I used to get like the actual hard copy of it. And I don't know if you can even do that anymore with the way they act about things. So we're going to see if they have this available, and then we'll talk about it. But, I've seen this other places too right now that this is a big deal for the simple fact that people are trying to revolt, and people are not sitting well with this man dying. And, right now as we sit, we're getting really close to hitting the SARS numbers. So outrising the deaths of SARS. Once we hit like 830 something, we're already past the deaths of SARS. Now we're way past those infected with SARS, but we're going to be going next to completely passing what's happening right now. So I think everybody should think about that, because that's kind of concerning. Here's the deal. We've got this coronavirus. It's spreading everywhere. No one knows how to stop it. What are we going to do? And did you notice that last fall, Red, that there is a new strain of HIV that doctors were looking at? Yes. Now what's up with that? And they said an experimental HIV vaccine failed a key trial in South Africa. Injecting nanoparticles in the blood curbed brain swelling in mice. I mean, they're basically pushing nanoparticles, nanobots as the next thing. Yep. And that's really concerning me right now with what's happening with the coronavirus, because I feel like that's going to be the potential cures.
I've been seeing some new reports of a new symptom, coughing up blood.
I seen that too, or a pink foamy spit. Heard that a lot too. Pink spit. So I don't know. It's very concerning at this point. I don't know what to think. Panic buying hit Singapore. They're saying the first foreign victim has died, and supposedly that's an American. Okay. And this is so I think we're right. Okay. And this was reported by the U.S. Embassy. So I think before this, we have not seen a patient who was not of Asian descent.
Right.
So is this a bioweapon for Chinese? Because, a lot of people have been bringing up, is this, a Chinese, disease? Should we stay away from the Chinese? Should we do this? Should we do that? But if now we know out of, maybe 100, 200,000 cases of this, only one non-Chinese has died. Because remember, International Business Times, China virus toll hit 722 with first foreign victim.
Right.
See how they say that? So if I'm getting what they're saying correctly, is this is the first white person to die. 60-year-old American from, who was living in China, according to the U.S. Embassy. Okay. They said with more than 86 people dying in mainland China, the highest one-day jump so far, the toll was closing in on the 774 killed worldwide during the, it's only 774. Oh, we're about to hit that today. During the 2002-2003 SARS epidemic. 60-year-old citizen was diagnosed with the virus, died on Thursday in Wuhan, the city at the epicenter of the health emergency, according to the U.S. Embassy, which did not provide more details about this person. A Japanese man in his 60s with suspected coronavirus also died in the hospital in Wuhan, the Japanese foreign ministry said, but adding that it was difficult to confirm if he had the illness. Only fatalities outside the mainland were a Chinese man in the Philippines and a 39-year-old man in Hong Kong. Nearly 35,000 people have been infected by the new strain, which is believed to have emerged in a market selling wild animals in Wuhan last year before spreading across China. The epidemic has prompted government to lock down cities to homes to tens of millions of people as anger mounts over its handling of the crisis, especially after a whistleblowing doctor fell victim to the virus. A lot of people have been speaking out on WeChat, Weibo, all of these different places to where they have been getting to the next level, okay, of speaking out, which they normally don't do. And the government's been having to allow it because people said they're going to start, pouring into the streets otherwise.
Right.
And so I think that that's something for people to think about. Is that they're actually starting to get tired. Remember, these people have been locked in their houses now for over 2 weeks. They're going to start to get restless soon. They're going to start to want to get out. Certain cities are only letting one family member come out every 2 days. Otherwise, you can't get supplies, and supplies are being harder and harder to find.
Right.
So what are people to do? With panic spiraling across the globe, more than 320 cases have emerged in nearly 30 countries, and researchers are racing to find treatments and a vaccine to fight the virus. Look, in other articles, it said that we don't create antibodies. If we don't create antibodies, you cannot have an appropriate vaccine. Because the whole point of a vaccine, according to them, is that it mimics the childhood response of catching the disease, which means that your body would need to create antibodies. This disease has shown that no antibodies are created after catching it, therefore you could catch it again.
Right.
So it wouldn't matter how many doses of a vaccine you got, because your body wouldn't create antibodies. If your body doesn't naturally create antibodies, there's no response or blood serum that they could take from a human being to try to create a vaccine then even. Because that's usually what they do. They take blood of a person who fought the disease, and then they use that to isolate the antibodies.
Right.
isolate the antibodies and create the vaccine. Well, if you don't have someone who's created antibodies from it, there's no vaccine.
Right.
And they're burning everybody who's at least, even who've succumbed to it. So there's no, research on that at all. So it's like, why? You would think that somebody would want to do research on this if somehow they say today that the pangolins are the reason why the outbreak occurred. That's the animal of origin. Because I brought this up all week. Where is the animal of origin? If you close down,
now heard bats,
snakes, and now this pangolin.
Right.
Correct. So I've been asking where the animals were the whole time.
Right.
Finally, they come out with it at the, the peak of this. Supposedly they had all these animals, I don't know. It just doesn't sit well with me. I feel like they needed to come out with this because, people have been talking about Wuhan. There was a family that did a video from South China Morning Post. They were never even in the wet market.
Right.
So how do you can't even do anything about that. So it's interesting. So many people are trying to speak out. I feel bad for all the people who are stuck in China who can't get out. There's so many people who are stuck inside the country who cannot leave. And now, cities like we just spoke about earlier, Shenzhen is shutting down, which is a large city. Over 400 million people are in quarantine lockdown in cities across China. That is like if they shut down the United States, y'all.
Yep.
We supposedly only have 350 million people here in the United States. They're at 400 million lockdown. They could, if they learn from the Chinese, they could lock us all down. And they already technically have us locked down. And they're talking about coronavirus creates anti-Semitic conspiracy theories. Interesting. Honestly, I'm not trying to be rude, but that's just rude. I haven't seen anybody say anything about Judaism and the coronavirus and any of that. I just feel like they're reaching on that one. Because here's the deal. Now they have 4 cruise ships quarantined. Cruise ships quarantined.
Yep.
Do you know how small, some of these cruise ship rooms are? They're tiny. And these people are stuck inside and they're running out of food. And where are they dumping all their waste? And what if people didn't plan to be on that boat that long? There's some people are supposed to probably be back at home or back at work, you know what I mean? And now they're stuck on this boat.
Right.
So who knows when? Panic buying hit Singapore after virus alert raised. Anxious shoppers formed long lines at grocery stores and cleared the shelves of essential items after the state raised its alert level over China's coronavirus outbreak. Since emerging late last year, the virus has killed over 700 people and infected more than 34,000 and spread to many other countries. Singapore, which has reported 33 cases, has raised its alert level Friday to orange. Oh, I wonder if our friend over there is all right. Mike from Singapore. Remember our caller, Mike from Singapore? He was great.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, Mike from Singapore. So I wonder if he's all right, because, but Singapore's big. The announcement triggered panic in the city-state of 5.7 million starting late Friday, with shoppers, many wearing masks, rushing to stock up on items such as rice, noodles, and toilet paper. Pictures circulating on social media showed empty shelves in some stores, carts filled with goods, and long lines at counters, which continued into Saturday. I'm afraid that if they further raise the alert level, we will not be able to go out, a 50-year-old housewife who did not want to be named told AFP after leaving a grocery store. The highest level on Singapore's 4-point scale with dealing above these disease outbreaks is red, one above orange. However, there was ample stocks of other items such as fruit, meat, fish, and alcohol. The government urged calm, with Trade Minister Chan Chun-sing saying there was no need to rush out to buy crucial supplies. There's no risk of us running shortage of essential food or household items, he wrote on Facebook. Singapore raised its alert level amid a growing number of virus cases in its citizens with no recent travel history to mainland China and no known links to previous infections. Hong Kong has also been hit by a wave of panic buying in recent days as it seeks to battle the virus, with supermarket shelves frequently emptied of crucial goods. Which that's true. People waited in line for 18 hours for masks, Red. 18 hours.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's just gotten ridiculous. And if something like that happened here, I don't think people would be as nice. I just don't think people would be as nice. I think people would be upset. I think people would be angry. You know, it's just absolutely crazy. You know, China says they want to get people back to work. Nobody's going back to work in China.
Right.
Nobody. You know, I mean, there is some good stories. You know, there is some hope. You know, people are saying, you know, it's not us, it's the disease, you know, stand with us. There are rescuers who are knocking down doors to save pets and feed them. So that's good. A member of Wuhan Pet Life Online, they've been putting out food and water for, you know, some animals, and they're helping, you know, keep these animals alive. You know, they estimated that 600,000 residents in Wuhan kept pets out of a population of about 11 million. So, you know, certain people even have up to 100 pets at their house, a vet said. Some owners' doors are passwords. Some of the doors have to be opened by locksmiths. For emergency cases, we enter the house by breaking down the door or climbing in through a window. There have been no accidents during these attempts. Some of them have been very frail, due to be trapped indoors with no food or water for a long time. Some display mental trauma when they come in. They believe that there are tens of thousands of such trapped pets. Another volunteer from Wuhan Pet Life, who studies at the Wuhan University of Technology, said she has saved pets from 7 households so far. She said Iwan from Wuhan Indigenous Cat said a recent government order has made their rescue work more difficult. February 1st, the 7th government edict came down, closing all pet shops and clinics to close. A very only few fearless and devoted vets still provide veterinary care in clinics at the risk of their license being suspended for flouting the government order. The vet from Wuhan Pet Online said, since one of those clinics have shut, since my animal clinic's not open, I do work rescue full time. Adding that an increasing number of residential districts are blocking strangers from entering housing estates, making their rescue work more difficult to perform. Exacerbating the overall situation, many Wuhan pets have been abandoned due to rumors that pets could transmit the coronavirus. The World Health Organization has dispelled the rumors, saying there's no evidence that pets can be infected with the new coronavirus. Canada court punishes WeChat user for spreading false information. What? Defamation after he posted a series of comments directed at a local community leader, Simon Zhang Jincheng, in a WeChat political discussion group. Justice Penny Jones of the Ontario court said Wu's comments on Zhang were malicious falsehoods. How can you charge somebody in China? What? Hold on. WeChat federal police investigations that support a slate of conservative leading candidates. Canada's courts would punish WeChat users for their defamatory posts even if their readership was unknown. Wow. So now you're not even, you know, now even Canada and other countries are getting in on China's censorship by even punishing Chinese citizens who post on WeChat. That's gone way too far, honestly. Seriously. Like, seriously. Well, what is that? How'd you mute? Look, Red. How you mute yourself again? Red. Yes, you can say something, Dwayne. Say something till we get right back. Unmute yourself.
Yo.
Yo.
So I've been listening for about the past half hour. The fact that they're bringing religion now into a part of the coronavirus.
Right? Isn't that ridiculous?
Right, because I'm sitting here in the hospital freaking out my own damn self.
You're about to catch the coronavirus.
You know, but the fact that they're bringing religion as a part of the coronavirus, you know, is messed up.
It is messed up. That is for sure. It's absolutely crazy.
Because trust me, even sitting in a hospital and I'm attached to all these different things.
1, 2, 3, 4,
5 things. You know, it's like
5. Yeah, 5 things.
it's like
You got 2 needles in your arm.
What is everything? You know, like what truly is this thing?
We don't know. You know,
is it
canceled weddings, they've canceled public gatherings in China, they've done, all these measures that they claim. Like I said, 400 million people are now under lockdown, the same as the population of the United States.
Please come down here and take my spot.
I mean, we're at the point where we've gone past just normal.
right? And then the fact that an American has already died.
Yep. American just died in Wuhan, though, to be fair. But the first, they say, foreigner to die, I find interesting how they put that into context.
It's crazy.
I'm glad you're back, Red. Hello, Red. Glad.
Yeah.
I don't know why it keeps muting you.
I don't know.
But did you want to comment about this? I mean, there's a lot of stuff we just talked about, but I mean, I feel like there's a lot going on. First of all, Canada's charging people speaking on WeChat, which is a Chinese platform, of which, this whole internet defamation thing, there was another case today with somebody bringing up, was it was like Kesha or somebody actually bringing up to Lady Gaga what happened to her, and they said her tweets to Lady Gaga or her texts to Lady Gaga were actually defamation. And now that's it. So, I mean, now, Kesha's private text to Lady Gaga are defamatory, judge rules. Publication of false statement to even one person is sufficient to impose liability. Like that, we're going way too far. You used to have to show like a burden of proof and money loss and these things and otherwise, but that's not the case anymore. This is crazy at this point. They're saying 4 hospitalized after ship docks in New Jersey. So people are starting to get sick left and right after this Royal Caribbean cruise ship has docked in New Jersey. And there are 4,000 passengers on this Royal Caribbean cruise liner. They're all Chinese nationals. And they included one who fell ill with a fever on board and later tested positive for influenza. Some of the patients were wheeled off the vessels in gurneys, And all four were immediately taken to University Hospital in New York by infectious disease experts from the Federal Centers for Disease Control for testing. Another 23 passengers, Chinese nationals who had been kept in isolation during much of the 12-day cruise in the Anthem of the Seas, were also whisked away by CDC officials who had boarded the vessel as soon as it docked. They were taken to Newark Liberty International Airport for a flight back to China as per a Trump administration directive amid the global outbreak. No one aboard the ship is known to have the coronavirus, but that was no consolation to many passengers who complained that crew members kept them in the dark about their threat in the midst. The actual 12 days on the ship were wonderful. It said a passenger who asked to be identified only as Al. Today it fell apart. Al and other passengers said they heard about the coronavirus scare through phone calls from worried relatives or by seeing reports on television or online. They totally lied to us, Al said of crew members. They said the whole article is fake news. Still, there were clues that something was amiss during the voyage. We saw a couple of Asian people walking around on the ship with masks, said Sue Malays, 72 of upstate Johnstown. The couple we sat next to noticed that they had some Chinese people with masks on and looked like they weren't feeling well. They should have never let them on. We had all kinds of precautions on the ship that were never explained. We couldn't go into the dining room without washing hands. We couldn't go into large venues without washing hands. I have grandchildren that I take care of. It's terrible. Now I put them at risk. Andrea Loshin, a retiree also from Denver, was shocked to see the welcoming party of emergency vehicles docked in Bayonne. We are cautious and we are going home. We'll be worried about how we feel, and any little tickle in your throat will make us wonder. Meanwhile, another few thousand passengers arrived at the docks of Bayonne on Friday to board the Anthem of the Seas for their own cruise to the Bahamas, only to be told to come back Saturday once the CDC gave the ship its final clear. Are they going to keep the same staff on the ship? Are they going to bring in a new staff? That's my right. You know what I'm saying? Because what if one of them have it? And they said that when they grabbed these people off of the flight, they did not use any protective equipment or masks or anything. They said the novel coronavirus has killed at least 719 people so far, almost all of them in China, and the total number of confirmed cases is more than 33,000. Only 12 cases have been confirmed in the U.S. No one in New York or New Jersey has tested positive, but 2 people are being monitored in the city. But yeah, I'd be concerned too. Are they switching staff? Is it the same people? Are they going to infect me? What happens next? I would just want to know. I'd have a lot of questions. You know, also, can we talk about how embarrassing the Iowa caucus has been? You know, I've been seeing a lot of people talking about that, and I think it's important to go ahead and talk about that really quick, because it's really made the Democratic Party look sad. And you know, they can't even try to have fair elections within their own party. And it's really sad at this point. I feel bad. You know, they're talking about the app could have had another problem, that it was hacked. And since when are we allowed to use apps to vote? Apps to vote. Like, seriously. Can we not just use paper ballots anymore? All I want is paper ballots. That's it. So, you know, we'll see what ends up happening. U.S. calls for Beijing to allow CDC experts in again. Travelers face jail if they defy new Hong Kong quarantine measure. 82% of cases are deemed mild, WHO says. If that's true, that makes you feel a little bit better, but I don't know. I don't feel good about it. Not with hearing about how many people are potentially died.
Right.
Chinese cities fight for mass shipments and scramble to stop coronavirus. Where does it talk about Trump saying? Trump has expressed confidence in China's efforts to contain the outbreak, saying the drive would be a successful operation. In a tweet Friday, Trump said he had a long, good conversation with Xi Jinping. They say hopefully as the weather starts to warm and the virus hopefully becomes weaker and then gone. I've heard when it gets warmer, the virus is only going to get worse, but we'll see. You know, we'll see. Circle K mass stores draw massive crowds as chains gives away 100,000 free masks to Hong Kong's elderly. That was nice. That was really nice. And so they at least gave people masks. That was nice. Go Circle K. Wynn Macau says it's losing more than $2 million a day. They say Hong Kong police officer caught bringing masks home to his family in official vehicle facing disciplinary action. Thousands trapped on Hong Kong cruise ship, killing time, playing mahjong, watching films, and walking on the deck. That sounds awful. I didn't even know there was like other countries' cruise ships. I haven't heard about that too often. I've only heard about, you know, the American ones. China scrambles to locate passengers on cruise after coronavirus patients test positive or diagnosed. I mean, it's just crazy what we're going through right now. There's so many articles about this. It's crazy. You know, Cathay Pacific asked 27,000 employees to take 3 weeks unpaid leave and to take turns. I mean, you know, Xi Jinping adopts draconian measures to fight the disease. Cured coronavirus patients leave hospital in Hangzhou in the Chinese coastal province of Zhejiang. At least 4 cities have introduced the measures that mirror the draconian rules established by Hubei province, the epicenter of the outbreak. They say have closed unessential public venues, banned funerals and weddings, limited the number of times that people can go out and quarantine families in their homes, sometimes by locking them in. And who do they choose that they lock in? You know, because it doesn't seem like that they're actually like, you know, locking up the sick. They're just kind of picking who they want. Each household is being issued a passport, and their 4 cities have a combined population of 30 million. You can only have, it has a piece of paper that has your name, home address, and an official stamp. Only 1 person per household is permitted to leave their home every 2 days.
Wow.
Yeah, and that's it. And if you break the rules, you're going to jail. And they said that Alan Lee, who's now living with his parents in Hangzhou, said the family had to stay home for 14 days after they were quarantined. They locked the flat with a metal chain from the outside, despite the family's protest. Some social media users have applauded such measures as a way to contain the virus, but others have criticized the quarantine as house arrest. And I think it's house arrest because we know from the Black Plague that this is just not a good idea to do this to people. That it actually spreads the disease more, and you lock people in who are actually sick from each other instead of people who can get away from each other, and then you just breed the disease. So this is just crazy. China's move to patent Gilead's experimental drug for the novel coronavirus could lead to legal wrangle. The State-backed Institute of Virology in Wuhan filed a patent for using remdesivir to fight the novel coronavirus on January 21st on its website. 2 weeks later, on February 4th, if approved, the drug will be used to facilitate its potential global market entry. Studies have been conducted outside the human bodies and found that Gilead's remdesivir compound in the off-patent chloroquine malaria drug highly effective in control of coronavirus infection, Wuhan Institute and the Beijing Institute of Pharmacology and Toxicology said in a research published
in Cell Research Journal. Since these compounds have been separately used in human patients with a safety track record and shown to be effective against various ailments, we suggest that they should be assessed in use in human patients suffering from the novel coronavirus. The outbreak has triggered panic across the globe, forcing the nation to lock down Wuhan and other cities in central province. But yeah, hold on. Remdesivir. Those are one of the two drugs. I think it's crap. They say that they want to accelerate manufacturing in anticipation of potential future supply needs. Asked if Gilead will contest the patent application filed by the Chinese, the application has been filed more than 3 years after Gilead's filing and will be considered in view as was already known about the compound and patent pending applications. We're unable to comment because of the details of their application because there's the 18-month delay for an application to be published. Gilead filed a patent for 2016 for methods to treat coronavirus infections without mentioning remdesivir. Its scientific findings on remdesivir's effect on coronaviruses have been published in the Science Translational Medicine Journal in 2017 on how the drug, with the development code GS5734, inhibits both epidemic and zoonotic coronaviruses. The move by Wuhan Institute, the most advanced virology center in Asia. And this is coming from South China Morning Post, y'all. So this ain't just like some bunk article either. When Thailand decided in 2006 and 2007 to break patents on drugs to treat HIV and heart disease, foreign drug makers, including Abbott Laboratories, responded by withdrawing their products from treating other diseases from the Southeast Asian country. It is not known when the Institute's filing could be approved by China's patent authority, but the unit of Chinese Academy of Sciences could provoke legal issues with its filing, according to Andrew Cobden, a patent and trademark lawyer in Hong Kong at Hogan Lovells in Hong Kong. One question is whether the specific combination of drugs or that specific medical use of the drug is novel. That is, researchers who make a discovery have filed their patent application before it becomes known to the public. Another is whether they're inventive. That is, an ordinary researcher in the field would not have thought of those combining those drugs or use those drugs to treat the coronavirus. The Chinese researchers said the filing was based on international practice and protection of national interests, adding it will temporarily not exercise any intellectual property rights if foreign pharmaceutical firms are willing to contribute towards combating the outbreak in China. Even if the Institute of Virology is granted the patent for the use of the drug of the novel coronavirus, it would not be able to get around any patents Gilead might have filed or obtained for the drug remdesivir, Cobden said. Gilead may as well choose to work with the Institute to market the drug there. In theory, the patent owner may be able to use its patent to stop other companies from manufacturing, importing, or selling that drug in China. But a patent cannot stop doctors from prescribing the drug to treat a patient. It might take 12 to 18 months for the public to know the coverage of the patent applied for by the Wuhan Institute when its application document is published. Remember that, a year from now, 16 months from now, 18 months from now. If the case falls between the industry norm, Cobden said. So, I mean, we got to watch this. This is real. Things are happening quick. Masks are going fast around the world. Casinos are closed in Macau and everywhere across the world. We need to be ready. You know, they're asking for $675 billion to try to combat this disease. We're going to need some help. We're going to need some help. So did you have any last thoughts about this tonight, Red?
No, I think we've covered it pretty intently.
I think so too. We're going to check on everybody in chat real quick before we pop out. Thank you, everybody, tonight for being with us here on Clarity After Dark. I appreciate. Twitter canceled John Jr.'s and Project Veritas's Twitter account. I can see that. They would do that. Thanks, Ron. I can see them doing this. We're being censored at every, stand. So if you like what we do here on the Freedom Revolution Network, please think about donating to us by either going to the freedomrevolutionnetwork.com and then going up to the donate tab and donating there. You can go to paypal.me/freedomrevolution19. We'll have a PO box soon, as well as other ways that you could send funds if you'd like. So just stay tuned. If you like what we do, try to keep us uncensored. We're trying to stay away from the chopping block at this point. We're very concerned about what's going to happen next and what's going to be in our futures. We want to be here for everyone and be on top of things so that you can understand what's coming towards you. And I feel like everybody here on the Freedom Revolution Network does a really good job of staying on top of the future news now. So with that being said, thank you for joining me tonight on Clarity After Dark. I hope you will join us for all of our great shows here on the Freedom Revolution Network. It's not just Clarity After Dark here. There are many shows, including Emergency Management Associates, Red Show, Journey into Freedom. We're going to have a few new shows coming up as well. So make sure you check out those too. Dwayne will have his own show called The Night Talk. That'll be coming up at nighttime during this time slot. So definitely come and join us for that. And with that being said, Red?
Dare to be different, dare to be you, and dare to learn to love yourself unconditionally.
And from the land of 10,000 lakes and from the highest desert valley in the great American Southwest, good night, universe.